Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Cyber Safety Newz. I'm your host, Adam Blue, which every week we go through cybersecurity news, the risks, and maybe some advice to give for as you're navigating the cyber world. Yeah, because everything's cyber nowadays. But no, this week, pretty interesting. We're going to actually talk about passwords and the fact that they might not even matter anymore. And we'll dive into that a little more. Also, this week is DEF CON and Black Hat, a conference that's going on in Las Vegas where a lot of hackers hang out and hack things together. I guess the U.S. government is trying to see who can hack into a satellite. So let's get into that. And then lastly, we're going to look at a phishing exploit that is going on. We're going to kind of walk through the stages of that because it's actually very interesting, kind of give you an idea of what attackers try to do when they get into some systems. But let's go ahead and we're going to move to the, the first topic here. This has to do with, this is from Politico. For the first time, U.S. government lets hackers break into satellite in space. Now that sounds pretty odd, doesn't it? And actually, this whole concept sounds pretty odd because I guess the idea of having a conference where a whole bunch of hackers are hanging out together in person. One, how often are hackers doing anything in person? Two, you get all these people together. Are some of them criminals, perhaps? Maybe not all, but still, that's kind of odd. But what's interesting here is, and let me get into this. So Las Vegas, hackers in a desert in the Southwest are lobbing a barrage of cyber attacks at a U.S. government satellite on Friday, and it's exactly what the Pentagon wanted to happen. The U.S. Air Force and Space Force are hoping the effort, first ever attempt to use hackers to break into live orbiting satellite, will help them build more secure space systems and identify security gaps that could be exploited by China or other adversaries. So, 5 teams of hackers are competing at the DEF CON Cybersecurity Conference in Las Vegas to remotely seize control of Space Force satellite Moonlighter, currently spinning in Earth's low orbit. Along with trying to break in and build a data link to the satellite, hackers are also trying to keep enemy teams out of their own vulnerable system by using encryption and firewall protections. The satellite is zooming around the Earth at about 5 miles per second, Air Force and Space Force staffers told reporters Friday. The event, which comes with a $50,000 prize for first place, may feel like a fun sci-fi thriller, but it also reflects the growing danger of America's enemies developing cyber capabilities to infiltrate and block U.S. defenses. So a lot of interesting things going on here. You know, first I talked about how it's interesting at these conferences, you're getting a bunch of hackers just hanging out together. But it's also something we see sometimes when it comes to cybersecurity attacks is there could be someone that's for fun breaking into something. If the government is able to find them, sometimes they recruit them in to help them out because people that have this ability where they can figure out how to get around systems and hack, usually that could be very helpful. So the idea here is, okay, we have this satellite. Who can figure out how to hack into it? They want to figure this stuff out. This kind of gives them an idea for like getting gaps that they can remediate. It just reminds me of, for instance, something simple like Facebook, a social media site. There are bounties for if you're able to figure out how to hack into something or figure out something. Facebook, will usually pay for that. And so that's kind of what's going on here. $50,000 seems like a lot, or does it? I don't know. It's a satellite, which I'm sure costs more than that. But what's also neat is there's groups of hackers that are attempting this, and they're actually battling each other as they're doing it. So as one is trying to get in, it could be that they're also devising plans of how to stop others from getting in as they get into hack. I mean, they talked about how it seems like a sci-fi thriller, and it actually does sound like that. I don't know really if we were to see what they were doing on the keyboard, it would be boring, but I'm interested in the details, actually. Like, what is actually going on? Are they using custom software, USB drives plugged into computers that are connecting with servers? Are they bouncing through different routers to then get to the satellite? Like, that's all very interesting stuff. So, check this article out. Again, it was on Politico, but this is just one of many, I guess, hacking events that are going on during DEF CON. Again, very interesting. How, hacking, kind of a bad thing, a criminal type of activity, but at the same time, learning to do these illegal activities can kind of net you some money, a good job, especially if at the end of the day it's done for good. But what's done for bad I want to talk about this here. So, this is from Hacker News. Cyber criminals increasingly using EvilProxy phishing kit to target executives. So, I guess there's this new sort of, and they're calling it a phishing kit. It's called EvilProxy. So, when it comes to phishing, a lot of times that's more than just hacking into something, and it's actually getting into contact with a human and tricking a human in order to get what you need to done next. I guess that's where a fault can lie. Maybe a computer system will have a bunch of ones and zeros that you have to be able to get or understand, or it might take an algorithm that's impossible to get through. But if you say the right thing or trick a human the right way, that's all you need. So with a phishing kit, there's many layers to this, because even if you're able to trick a human to give you one part of the access, there's also multiple layers. So let's look at this real quick. So let's see. The adversary sets up a fake domain in reverse proxy and sends a phishing link to the victim. So that's just like one step sometimes when it comes to a threat actor engaging a user to get in somewhere. The second step is the victim clicks on the link and authenticates with MFA as needed. So as needed, because who knows if MFA is on there or not. But here's the interesting thing. MFA is a security protection to stop for something like that. But here's where it gets a little interesting. The adversary intercepts the requests and forwards to the real server. The adversary intercepts the real server's responses and forwards them back to the victim's client while capturing the valid session cookie. So there's a lot of different things going on here, but basically using this reverse proxy fake domain they're able to get the user's credentials as well as that MFA authentication. So this is a way to bypass the authentication, but it is requiring the user to make an error by clicking on a link that was fake. So next, the adversary uses the captured cookie to authenticate into the real domain. So then this allows the attacker to get the full access they need to without having to go through any other means. So basically, the person that is targeted, by clicking and then signing in, they're getting that data captured, sent to the attacker. The attacker then can use that information to get in the systems and do what they want. So phase one for the phishing campaign, EvilProxy threat is sent to targeted user. Phase 2, credential theft. User falls for phish lure. Login and MFA credentials are stolen. Phase 3, account takeover. Attackers compromise user account. Phase 4, persistence. Attackers add new MFA method. So by adding a new MFA method, they can then use the credentials to sign in all they want on their system and not have to worry about another user having to do the multi-factor or having to send out this sort of phishing kit every time they need to get in. And then exploitation. So this is phase 5. Once the attacker has the ability to get in at will whenever they want and they're in the system, financial fraud and data exfiltration execution occurs. So usually in these instances, the end result is to get the data necessary, whether that's potentially a ransomware at the end of the day or data that could be sold on the black market. So, what's really interesting about this is because of the added layers of security that have been added over time, like MFA, there's also added layers of steps to any sort of attack campaign. And we can see this covers both that kind of personal phishing where you trick a user, and then also that more strengthened security like MFA, that these attackers have a method of getting that additional information that they can then use to bypass having to continue to phish someone. So, this is something to look out for. Again, it's important to have MFA, but it's important to be continuing education for users that are signing into these sensitive systems that have data and everything. So, I hope you found that interesting. That's Hacker News. Feel free to check the link for that below. And then lastly, I find this very interesting. So this was posted on Microsoft's tech community. Your password doesn't matter. And, working with the Microsoft products, I've seen that that's kind of the direction they're going anyway, where it's not really about having a password. And, I've always thought that's weird. When it comes to the start of the internet or anything, I'm using a password to log into something, but that's soon to change. So we have like the type of attack and what it's known as the frequency of it happening and the mechanism for which, the difficulty of that, and how the user assists the attacker. And then in the end, does a password matter for that? So let's look at credential stuffing, also known as breach replay list cleaning. Frequency very high, 20 plus million accounts probed daily in Microsoft ID systems. Difficulty very easy. Purchase creds gathered from breach sites with bad data at rest policies. Test for matches on other systems. List cleaning tools are readily available. So this is just someone purchasing credentials that have been stolen from a system, sold on the black market. You just use that to try to get in. So user assists attacker by being human. Passwords are hard to think up. 62% of users admit reuse. That's something we talked about before. Reusing passwords, that doesn't help you out. So does your password matter? No, attacker has exact password. They have bought the password, so they have it. So phishing, also known as man-in-the-middle credential interception. This is what we were talking about before, where with that phishing toolkit, where the attacker is doing whatever they can to get the user to get them the credentials. So very high, 0.5% of all inbound mails. Wow. Difficulty mechanism, easy. Send emails that promise entertainment or threaten and link user to doppelganger site for sign-in. Capture creds. Use Moldishka or similar tools to make this very easy. User assists attacker by being human. People are curious or worried and ignore warning signs. Does your password matter? No. User gives the password to the attacker. So can we see so far how a part of this is that human error? This is being human, but that at the end of the day, the attacker is getting the password. Keystroke logging. I think you see where we're getting here. So malware or sniffing. A malware could be on your system that is logging those keystrokes. So difficulties medium. Malware records and transmits usernames and passwords entered, but usually everything else too. So attackers have to parse things. That's right. So it could be if someone is writing a book and then they go to their browser and they go to sign into a system and then they go back to writing the book, they'd have to kind of go in and find that. But that can also give them additional information, like if someone's inputting their credit card somewhere or telling someone some personal information that could be used. But just from that alone, the malware, as this says, intercepts exactly what is typed. So the password doesn't matter. Local discovery. Dumpster diving, physical recon, network scanning, low. So this is difficult. Search user's office or journal for written passwords. So this is getting like physical location style stuff, not as much as hacking into something. But yeah, what if someone has a password written down on a sticky note under their keyboard? It could be that, they threw away, this is dumpster diving, so they threw away a hard drive. The attackers go behind this office building. They see that there's a hard drive there. They get it, plug it in, try to get what data they can on there. You hear a lot of times that when you like want to turn in your phone or something or sell a computer to erase it. And usually there's different options when it comes to erasing a hard drive. You know, one's like kind of quick, one takes a while because there's sometimes ways to still get that information off there. But again, this is a way to get that exact password discovered. And then there's extortion. We can see where that goes. Blackmail, insider threat. Very low, but cool in movies, though. So I guess this doesn't happen too much, but it's cool in movies. And again, being human, you get the password. There's password spray. Guessing, hammering, low and slow. So this is where, you kind of, sometimes this could be buying stuff off the black market, like credentials, or it can be some sort of a script that a attacker is using where they just hammer against a system to run through different types of passwords. So no, unless it is in the handful of top passwords attackers are trying. So look at this. Common passwords such as QWERTY123, summer 2018, exclamation. There's a huge list of these commonly used passwords that can be in a script that then runs against a bunch of user accounts. And that, again, if you have the password, you can do it. So brute force, database extraction, cracking. This is to get into the system to get the passwords. And I find this one very interesting because this is one where it really depends on, it could be a mix of phishing. It could be, part of how you get into the system, because you could already have one password, but you need password for someone else there. So, very interesting when it comes to the passwords, because in the future, it's going to be less about having a password. You might set up a system where it asks for a login and then it says, use your fingerprint like on a phone. I think so many people have phones. You need a computer in the first place to sign into something. So it's not too hard to believe that you would have to have a phone or some sort of device in order to get into a system. And it could be iris scan. It could be face recognition, maybe voice recognition. There's going to be things that are going to be used in the future where it's really not about typing in a password, and it's about something that's a little more secure. And like I said, a little more secure, because at the end of the day, if attackers want to, they're going to figure out how to get something. And phishing is the number one way to do it at the end of the day. So anyway, that's it for this week's Cyber Safety News Show. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions, format, or any other things that we could do to improve the show for you. Or if you've come across a cybersecurity issue yourself, have you been scammed? Have you come across something interesting? Put it in the comments below. Maybe we can talk about it on a future episode. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll talk later.